Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets postgame, sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes. If you look in the description of this video, you will see the link to Mr. Rogers Homes. Sean Rogers, the top 1% realtor in all of Arizona. So if you're thinking of moving out to the Valley of the Sun, Sean is your guy. His brochure's in there. Be sure to check him out. The Buffalo Bills with a very impressive bounce-back victory against the New York Jets. Like I said, 45-17. Going 3-0 in the division now, 6-3 overall, sending the Jets to 2-7 overall, and I don't even think they had one victory in the division. I don't know. It doesn't matter, Paul. Doesn't matter.
Sure doesn't.
Before the love fest of number 22 happens from this guy over here, I just want to say for all of Hashtag Nation, if you're just getting in, be sure to smash that like button, and thank you for following us. And as we continue to cover the Buffalo Bills and the NFL on this channel as well. Paul, as you know, I don't get too high, I don't get too low for losses and or victories. Mm-hmm. So this week was a stark contrast to what happened last week in Jacksonville.
Right.
Your initial thoughts on the game against New York Jets today?
Woo! Yeah, there's a lot of positives to take, right? There were some good things to see. We saw Spencer Brown back out there. He looked healthy. Darrell Williams back at guard. You see the difference that makes on that, right side of that line. Got a little bit of a heart-stopping moment when Deion Dawkins went down for a play, but he was right back out there again. Mm-hmm. Had a little bit of a heart stopper when we saw Micah Hyde go down. You had a little bit of a heart stopper when Isaiah McKenzie went down, although he was back on that final kickoff. So there was a lot there. But the truth of the matter is we made it. That's it. We made it through relatively unscathed. And everybody's going to be talking about how you should just extend AJ Klein and not give Tremaine Edmonds a contract extension for $100 million. That's going to be the conversation. And I hate to break it to you, but this is an aberration, folks. You're not going to fool him for long, right? It's the NFL. He looked great today, but you're not going to fool him for long.
Absolutely. Yeah, Klein was all over the place today. I know we had initial thoughts. We didn't think Klein was going to there was going to be a healthy dose of Klein today. However, it seemed like the Jets and that offense was tailor-made for Klein's kind of game. He's always moving forward. He's not really – you don't really ask him to do a lot in coverage. I mean, I saw Vernon Butler in coverage a couple times, but we know that going in because that is the scope of this defense. Sometimes they like to drop those tackles down. F.A. Obata with a heck of a game today.
Hey,
playing in the
3-tech.
Yeah.
A definitive sack. He gave a scorpion get over here. He just snatched Mike White up. Foop, gone. He's gone.
Yeah, I snatched Mr. I should be a first-round pick. I should have been a first-round pick.
Mike White. Did he actually say that?
He actually said that. He said he should have been a first-round pick.
Come on. He threw enough picks today. I mean, I guess,
everybody ate in that secondary. Poyer, Johnson, Wallace, White, and then
all the starters.
Hyde had a fumble recovery.
When do you ever see every member of the defense come away with a turnover? Right?
When it's
That's
the Jets.
Absurd.
When it's the Jets, Paul.
Yeah. Okay.
Funny story. I bet good old Ryan down at Jets Talk 24/7. Mm-hmm. I bet him. We were on a collab with Dan Mitchell, and I said, I gave him a 10-point spot, and I said I will come on the show wearing a New York Jets jersey.
For the first quarter? Was it just for the first quarter?
I told him I would wear a Jets jersey on his channel tomorrow if they covered the spread, and they did not. So
they sure didn't.
It was not good. It was really not good for them.
Yeah, and all things aside, right? It's never a bad thing to see, the backup quarterback in voluntarily for, the final drive. A Davis Webb sighting. I'm not going to complain about a Davis Webb sighting, but the fact of the matter is Bills have been pretty consistent. They got 26 first downs in games where they do really well. They're typically right around the 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 mark. They really didn't have any trouble moving the ball. Only one first down from penalty, which tells you from an efficiency standpoint, they're incredibly efficient, almost 500 yards in total offense. Aside from the one Allen pick, which was a tough one.
That is, I mean, those are ones that really
okay.
aren't. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. Singletary fumbling on air made me almost eat the corner of my television. I almost was so angry. I
Not
went up
Breida?
to bite. No. Singletary in the first quarter went to
Yeah,
turn
I
the
know.
corner, fumbled the ball with nobody around him, picked it up and ran for 3 yards. And then, of course, Breida's, I was singing the praises of Matt Breida to anyone that would listen, who was nobody in my house, because that was pretty much by myself watching the game. And Breida makes that huge fumble. Like, that wasn't a fumble. That was a fumble. Like, there was no, that was bad. That was
a
bad
punt.
luck.
The thing went like 15 yards further than it would have went. It's pretty great. No, I think a lot of the things that you saw, what this Buffalo Bills defense is capable of. my phone notifications with the Bills song. You saw a lot of things what this defense could do when it's clicking on all cylinders, obviously against an inexperienced quarterback. And then you got to see how this offense could play when they have substandard competition in front of them.
Right.
I mean, I was worried about the front four of the New York Jets because that is their strongest unit. And then with Marcus May not in the game, when I was talking with Richie, another Jets YouTuber, he was saying, they held Jamar Chase to 3 catches. They're going to do the same thing to Diggs. I said, well, Marcus May played in that game. He's not going to be playing in this game. That guy is an X factor in their secondary. And, to the tune of, as you guys could see it scrolling along the bottom of the screen, Diggs goes 8 for 162 and 1. I mean, I think that's one of those guys that you have to try to get off the ball. You got to get him the ball. But how much do you think, because I have my initial notes, and I know you like to pick apart certain things and we like to be objective here, guys. If anything, if you guys have been here long enough, we like being objective. So Dawson Knox's return, how much of an impact do you think that made on this offense?
Oh, that's an interesting question, right? Because in the box score, not much, right? The box score tells you that he wasn't very impactful at all. I don't really say that Dawson Knox is a very good run blocker, right? The Bills didn't exactly make a real concerted effort to run the football today. Devin Singletary had 7 carries, Breida had 3, Moss had 7, right? And with as long as they had the ball and as many plays as they ran, that wasn't a huge chunk of their offense. But I think it just makes players like Emmanuel. I think having Dawson Knox makes players like Diggs and Sanders more dangerous. When he's not there, that's where you see that production go, right? Yeah. That's where players like you saw Beasley, you barely saw Beasley today, right? It's I think that's just it's the tit for tat. When Knox is in there, the entire offense does seem to function at a little bit of a higher octane. I don't know what it is. It's not like he soaks up a ton of opportunities. What do you think, Mar?
I was just going to piggyback off of your point talking about Dawson Knox in the fact that you're right. He does delegate some attention from the linebacking core and maybe the nickel corner that you have out there, because he's a very athletic, very strong, very fast tight end. So sometimes when you put a linebacker on him, you're setting yourself at a disadvantage. And if you put a corner on him, he could just muscle that guy out. So he gives you a distinct advantage in that, and you have to delegate some guys to him. When he's not on the field, those guys that are normally delegated to Knox end up going to Sanders, end up going to Diggs, end up going to Beasley, and he just brings another different element to the game. But I mean, I gotta, and Joe even says, how about Gabe Davis making plays? Absolutely. We knew that was his thing. And we knew when Sanders got here, Davis's production was going to go down. You knew that going in because, he has managed to stay relatively healthy. Sanders, I mean, and he's one of those guys. He's just a cerebral wide receiver. You don't stay in the league this long without knowing what you're doing, playing with some of the best quarterbacks he's ever played with. But I just want to throw this on the stream real quick while we're talking about this, Paul, because I'm scared. From Believers Talk, Breida's the best practice squad running back I've seen in a long time, but he should stay there.
Joe said that?
Joe said that.
Listen, Breida slander will not be tolerated. I said it on his live stream. Matt Breida slander will not be tolerated. You know what? We saw a couple things today, and to kind of piggyback off the Matt Breida piece, right? We saw a couple things today that we had asked for in the last post game, right? We said, listen, you were so vanilla today. Where were your jet sweeps? Where were your, opportunities? Just get a little creative and get players out of the box, right? You saw Emmanuel Sanders had a carry. Isaiah McKenzie had 2, right? Like those are the types of things that you needed to do. And I'm sorry, but Matt Breida does bring a little bit of a different flavor to your personnel.
He does.
Right. When he's out there, he does bring a different flavor to your personnel. And I kind of like it a little bit. You know, like I get that you can't make him active all the time, right? You can't do that. Taiwan Jones being active today and Breida and Moss and Singletary, that's just not going to happen all year.
No, it's
right?
not.
It's not going to happen all year. They had the roster space today, which was great, but I think where'd they go light? I think they went light in corner. They must have gone light in wide receiver. I didn't look at the inactives, but they must have gone light at wide receiver in order to carry those 4 running backs. But you're not going to see that all season.
No, you're not. And obviously, I mean, they showed the Breida touchdown, and then they wanted to highlight him, but he was on kickoff.
Yeah.
It's not like he's sitting on the bench doing something, you know. Having 4 running backs on the roster, 2 of them which were primary special teams, but he does bring a little bit of an element, as you said. You know, he had 3 catches for 22 yards, and he had 3 rushes for 28. You know, 9.3 average, the highest. I foolishly, Paul, made a claim because obviously everyone was down because of the Jacksonville game, and I was, you know, playing devil's advocate as far as the Buffalo Bills go. I said if Allen threw for 300 today, the Bills would have lost.
Oh, believe me, that didn't escape me. I saw it on Twitter.
Oh yeah. Oh, but the point I was trying to make in that was that they weren't going to try to run the ball against one of the worst rush defenses in the league, where going into the game, the Jets had surrendered already 1,000 yards on the ground and 15 rushing touchdowns.
Isn't that crazy?
What did the Bills do today? They rushed for 4.
And in a league where you don't run the football anymore.
No.
Right? Like giving up rushing touchdowns, that's sort of a big deal because people just don't run the football anymore.
And exactly.
This isn't Dallas. You know,
and even in the red zone, a lot of teams don't do it. They try to do like little sleight of hand, little jet sweeps and stuff like that. So that being said, I said, okay, I think the Bills are going to try to have a more concerted effort in the run game. So what you saw was 24 carries for 139 yards for almost 6 yards a carry and 4 touchdowns. That's what I was expecting to see. I mean, I was expecting close to 200 yards rushing, honestly. And because Allen rushed 2 times for 3 yards. I mean, normally he usually chips in 30 or 40, you know? So if he did, it would have been up closer to that number, that 200 there. So 4 touchdowns I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's a game where Ken Dorsey's on the sidelines and he grabs Allen from the front of the jersey. He's like, don't you run that football. You throw it away. Throw it away. Because, you know, CJ Mosley is not going to miss an opportunity to flatten Josh Allen. He's not. What are they playing for this year? Right? You get a chance to ring the bell at Josh Allen. You're going to ring the bell at Josh Allen. You keep his ass in the pocket. You don't let him you don't let him do anything stupid. You know, you can.
So Joe came in, he said last year Bills lost week 10, then went on a tear through the league. This team lost week 9. Can this team go on the same tear? Definitely woke them up. I mean, the Bills, I think, tend to play a little bit better when their back is against the wall and not everyone's touting them. It's like when people are down on the Bills, that chip on their shoulder gets a little bit bigger. And they're like, oh, really? You don't think? Okay. You know, I don't know. The team that showed up last week and the team that showed up today are 2 completely different teams.
Yeah.
But it's still scary that they could be that team that showed up last week.
Yeah.
So I think you agree with me here, Paul, is the fact that consistency usually wins out in this league. You got to be more consistent with what you can't have a season. You can't have a game you did last week, game you did this week. And everyone's like, well, what are they going to do next week against they play the Colts, I think. I don't know.
Right.
But it is very confusing sometimes when you have a team that does that. And, you know, what could they, what team are we going to expect next week? Like,
well, Mar, I think, you know, even McDermott and the reporters were saying that, you know, they got back to business when they got to practice. Normally they're playing music and they're having a good time. And that was not the tone at practice this week. You know, it was, hey, I don't know what that was, but we can't let that happen again. Right. So it was very business at practice this week. And I definitely think you saw that, you know, I don't know what exactly preparing for Jacksonville was. You know, we joked about it that the Bills were walking into, you know, the bye month because They were playing
Yeah.
Jacksonville, and then they're playing the Jets. And yeah, Indy's a good football team. Indy does some things that are going to be challenging for Buffalo to have to deal with, and I think that's going to be a great game. I think you have the Patriots right after that, if I'm remembering the schedule correctly.
I'll look at it.
And it's you're at a point where I definitely think every team needs a wake-up call at some point throughout the season. You usually don't go undefeated, right? And even when you do, you can sometimes pull yourself out of funks. Last week, the offense just wasn't there for the defense, right? And I want to bring up this point. After today, the Bills are plus, I think, 18 in turnovers in games that they win, and they're -2 in games that they lose, right? So think about that. They're plus 18 or 19 in turnovers in games they win. That's absurd, Mario.
That goes back to what, 08?
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's an absurd pace for turnovers. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And going on that, Paul, here's what I wanted to bring up to you, and I wanted to ask you, and I want to ask the nation that. By the way, thank you for joining us on the stream tonight, guys. If you're here first time, hit that like button, or if you hit the dislike button, hey, still YouTube still recognizes it. But we love your comments. We're gonna get to all those. I've been trying to show them on the screen as much as I can. So, and I told you about this, Paul. An interesting stat came on the screen when we were watching the game. Buffalo Bills #1 in turnovers, 5th in the league in scoring off turnovers. Interesting stat. I thought it was relevant to this team since we're talking about turnovers. Does that worry you, or is that something that sometimes they'll score, sometimes they won't? But here's the other thing I wanted to mention: the Jets started out 3 and out, pick, 3 and out, 7 plays and a punt. The Bills managed 10 points on that.
Right. Yep.
Is that enough to beat the good teams?
It's an interesting question. It's an interesting way to phrase the same argument, right?
Right? Yeah.
That's an interesting way to phrase the same argument because, if those, we've said it for a long time, Mark. 3 and outs are a turnover, right? You've been praising that 3 and outs should be a turnover.
I have.
Yeah.
Because it basically is. It takes a minute off the clock, and then you're giving the ball back to the other team.
Right. Usually in better field position, right? Because, usually it's 3 and out. You're often not getting that ball in positive field position anyway. Listen, right? While we saw some things that they needed to do, right? Like we had talked about, they needed to start pulling the line a little bit. We saw some misdirection. I saw Apex bring it up in the chat. He's like, the line was pulling when they needed to pull. That's how you cover up gaps in your line, right? You get the line to pull, get everybody going one direction, and then you can open up the play because you're going to wash out a lot of that pass rush when you start down blocking, right? So we saw Buffalo do a little bit of that today. I don't think it's as much as we're going to see in the future, right? I think we saw sprinkles of it, and we're probably going to start seeing more of the things that we were used to in 2020, and maybe a different flavor from what we've seen in 2021, right? I think we can all agree that the type of offense that we're running in 2021 is not similar in regards to 60% of the playbook than what we saw in 2020. And maybe it's time to just hit that refresh button a little bit and kind of go back to your greatest hits and figure out what worked great for you last year. Because it's aside from a few players on the offensive line, it's the same team, right? Same team.
It is. Yeah. I don't know. I just, like I said, that's one of those objective takes that I wanted to throw out there because I know that you love to take a look at that. And points off of turnovers, if your defense is going to be playing at the caliber that it is right now, and they're going to be generating extra possessions for you. That's one thing we talked about, extra possessions, which the Buffalo Bills took advantage of today. I don't know the exact stat of how many points they scored off of turnovers
today. Listen.
I mean, I could look. I'd have to look it up and check it out
tomorrow. We'd have to go to the drives and do the math manually today.
Everyone in the chat's putting up nicknames for the Buffalo Bills defense: Cold Front, House of Turnovers, Stampede B. They have to win our division, and it's to me, I feel that against teams that are a little bit better, when you end up getting to the playoffs or playoff caliber teams, you're going to have to start turning those into 7 instead of 3.
Yeah,
to make them pay for the thing. Because when the teams get, if the team gets a turnover and you only get 3, that's a victory and momentum shift for the team that turned the ball over.
Right.
And I've always thought that. And it's when you get in the red zone, you can't get 3. That's how teams lose. I mean, we've seen the Buffalo Bills a lot of times lose games because they settle for 28-yard field goals, 22-yard field goals and stuff like that. And it's just not it's not something that you can have and it's sustainable for winning games consistently in the NFL. But I just wanted to go real quick to the by the way, another little stat for you guys you can throw around the water cooler tomorrow. This is the 3rd game this year. The Buffalo Bills are playing a team that played the previous Thursday night, and they whopped them.
That's a thing. It is a thing.
I don't know what it is.
We mentioned this before. It's a thing.
It's weird, though. But, I mean, just to kind of highlight the schedule a little bit coming up because we like to do that too. They got the Colts. Then they're playing immediately on Thursday against the Saints.
That's it. It's the Saints, then the Patriots.
Then they go to the Patriots, and then they have the Bucs. So that 4-game span, they're 6-3. Let me ask you, Paul, and I'll ask the nation. Colts, Saints, Pats, and Bucs. They're at the Saints and at the Bucs. They're home versus the Colts and the Pats, which is what you would want. You'd want to be home against the AFC teams, especially a division game to start it out. I mean, Pats aren't looking bad.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, I want you guys to put it in the chat. Over the next 4 games, Buffalo Bills, they're home versus the Colts, home versus the Pats, away at the Saints, away at the Bucs. What record do the Buffalo Bills have over the next 4?
You gotta leave 3-1, right? You gotta leave 3-1. I don't think that's any mystery at all. That's worst case scenario is you leave 3-1. Because if you take a look at, because we're looking in the rear view, right? The Patriots have a little bit of a different flavor to their schedule from when they play the Bills, because between us and them, they get to play the Falcons on Thursday night. That's this coming Thursday. They play the Falcons, who just got mollywopped tonight. Then they're playing the Titans. Great time to draw them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great time to draw them. And then they play us, and then they play the Colts right after us. And then they come back to play us again. They still have to play the Jags. They still have to play the Dolphins. Like, that Patriots schedule is
pretty easy.
Sexy. It's pretty sexy, right? So
you can call a schedule sexy, that one's sexy.
You can call the schedule sexy. It's totally fine. You gotta hope that the Falcons figure something out on a short week, which, I mean, I'm not convinced they're capable of doing that. The Titans are in really bad shape right now. They just put Julio on IR. You got us 2 out of 3 weeks, and you got the Colts in between there, but their schedule's pretty nice. You can't come out less than 3-1. If you do, you could start losing a grip on the AFC East. And by the way, the Bills don't have a stranglehold on the AFC East, right? I hate to talk about the Patriots like they're relevant here when you have, Mac Jones, who's had 1, 2, 3, 4. How many games has he started? Started the entire season. He's thrown over 300 yards once. Over 275 only twice or 3 times so far this season.
We know how that team operates, though, Paul.
I know. I get it.
It's like they took a gear out that was number 12 and they put Mac Jones in there.
Their leading receiver, they don't have a single game this season aside from today. I don't know. Actually, no, today they didn't either. They don't have a single game where their leading receiver has over 100 yards.
And those teams, to me, are some of the most dangerous ones because you can't pinpoint one thing.
Yeah.
So if you come into Buffalo, you have to shut down Diggs or it's going to be a long day. And if you do shut down Diggs, we've seen the perils of that when certain teams have not shut down but limited Diggs. And then they happen to put a little bit of a stranglehold on Sanders. But once you do that, it's like the Buffalo Bills offense is like, what are we doing? What can we do? Because it's not like the Buffalo Bills can really hang their hat. I mean, because today, as fun as it was, this is not the type of defense you're going to be facing where you're going to be able to run for 4 touchdowns. You're not going to face that every week. And the Buffalo Bills don't really have that backup plan as far as their run game, even though they're starting to mix it up a little bit in what they're doing. I like what they're doing. Matt Breida seemed to give, Paul, I'm just going to tell you, just take this with a grain of salt. They were playing the Jets, which have a horrible rush defense. But Matt Breida getting to the outside and stretching that defense east and west more opened things up in the passing lanes up the middle.
Yeah.
So,
but again, you get But you get those Jets, like you had Sanders and McKenzie involved in running the football, and that has a similar effect, right? Like
Yes.
Sanders and McKenzie combined for as many carries as Breida did, right? Like we're only talking 6 touches overall, but those 6 those make big impacts on the game because you put that stuff on film now and you let people know, listen, we could run this, so now you need to prepare for it, right? And going
Yeah.
into the schedule that you're going into, this is the game where you needed to start putting some stuff that you haven't done all year on film because you need to give the dark hoodie something to look at, right? Because you got them coming up a couple games from now, and you're going to get them near back to back. So this is the game where you got to start putting stuff on film that maybe you haven't done as often. And I loved what I saw from the Bills offense today. With that being said, I will say that I was still a little concerned with Josh's propensity to just try and throw the football the entire length of the field on every single drop back. That was still concerning to me. That bothered me last game. And I feel like I just saw the same thing again, right? Where he had more time today, but my God, he can throw a football a long way. I just don't want him to do it every single pass.
Mhm.
Like, did you feel Josh was pushing the ball downfield too much today? Or what? Like, what was that? I mean, maybe it's just perspective. Maybe I'm just a little bitter from the last game, but that's what I noticed.
There was it's with the Jacksonville game. I thought he played tight, but then he was out of a rhythm. There's been some games where he's been out of rhythm. Now let me give you a little story, Paul.
Oh, story time.
Bill Parcells told Phil Simms one time when they were in the tunnel ready to go out. He said, "Listen, take some chances out there. I don't care if you throw 4 picks. You just keep throwing it, and I will back you in whatever you do." I don't know if something was said to Allen prior to today's game of, listen, just go out there and sling it. Just go do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like, open it up. Do what you got to do. Make your reads. See what's going on. It could have been the way that the Jets were playing him. I saw some single high safety because they didn't have Marcus May in there. They were dropping safeties down and stuff like that to try to cover those short intermediate routes. So that might have been a reason for it. But something lit a fire under him where he was like, listen, if I'm even given the illusion that I'm going to go deep, it will open up things underneath for me and those easy throws. So I don't know if that was the game plan going into it where they wanted to try to stretch the field out and stretch that defense out so they could have those intermediate routes be open. I'm not sure. I just know that he was a little bit more in rhythm today than he has been. And part of that could have been the penalties or the lack of penalties today. But, oh, my God, that penalty on Dawkins for holding. Oh, I wanted to.
Yeah, that was pretty weak. There was a roughing the passer that was pretty weak, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Finally, Mike Trotter says finally getting time to throw deep today. Did you happen to catch Spin's comment if you scroll up a little bit? It was hilarious.
Let me find it.
Mac Jones is living off of 5-yard passes. What have I said about Brady for years in New England?
Yeah.
He's got a 7-yard passing tree. That's what they do there. But
it's true.
But the way, in talking, focusing back on the Buffalo Bills, I thought Allen was a little bit more in rhythm today. He had a little bit more time. Spencer Brown, obviously, as we mentioned at the onset of the broadcast, him coming back, him being able to, work things in there. You're not going to bull rush Darrell Williams. Sorry. You're not going to do it.
Nope.
And him at guard, no, not happening. Sorry. Ike Butker had a pretty good game today. Dawkins struggled a little bit too. So, but, I mean, overall, it wasn't like Allen was terrified or getting the ball out where he felt like undue pressure. The one play he got sacked, he even feel the guy come around.
No,
I was
he
like,
didn't.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was front side too. Like, that was front side. Well, you really got to be dialed into what you're looking at downfield to not feel that, because it was right in your face, and the one thing, there was something that was subtle today that I liked a lot more, and the long pass to Diggs where he was in the slot on the single high look, right?
Yeah.
Give me that all day long, right? You put Diggs in the slot on a single high look, and you just said, just go get open. Just get open.
Playground ball.
Ball. And this time it worked, right?
Yeah.
And in some games that's not going to happen. Today, this offense could kind of do whatever they wanted, which was great. The defense, today. I do want to shift gears a little bit to the defense, Mar, before we
Absolutely.
start talking about the Colts game. So the
Yeah.
defense a little bit, the pass rush. What did you like? To me, AJ Epinesa has been a ghost for weeks, right? After coming out of the box real hot. I, I really felt like, Ed Oliver had a great game today. Minus Star, which I think is sort of a conversation you and I have had in the past where we've said that Oliver really needed Star next to him. Today, I didn't feel that way, right? Do you think Harry can fill the role of Star if Star happens to miss more time and we can see this version of Ed Oliver, or did Ed Oliver not have a great game? And I'm just lying to the entire, into all of Hashtag Nation.
I believe Star's impact on the defensive line is twofold. Number one, you have to delegate 2 bodies to him because he's that much of a monster in there, which that impact on a pass play or, for your pass rushes, it singles up some very good athletes on the outside. You got Rousseau, Addison, and Hughes, and Epinesa. It'll single all those guys up to be like, hey, be an athlete, make a play. That's who the Bills draft. That's who they target. They get the best athlete at the position at that time. As far as the run game is concerned, Star plugs up things and keeps guys off of the linebackers so they can make the plays. That's what he does. That's his 2 jobs. Notice I didn't say tackles. I didn't say sacks. He's there for everyone else to be successful. It's kind of like being a dad. You're not there for you. You're there for the kids. So he is the father of that line as far as that's concerned. Today against the Jets, you weren't terrified of their run game. They had Tevin Coleman and Michael Carter. You're not terrified of that. So that could have been an issue. If you go against a team that has a really good run game or at least above average, then you're going to miss Star a little bit. And they're going to convert some of them very short yardage plays on you, and it's going to be very frustrating. I liked what I saw at Harry.
That's the next 2 games, though, Mar. The reason I ask it is because you're going against, the next 3 games. You're going against Taylor, you're going back against Kamara and Ingram, and then you're going against whoever the hell happens to be playing for the Patriots. But they've been effective on the ground all year. Like this is the murderer's row of your season, right? This is where your season's decided, are these next 3 games, because these are teams that do things that, you knew Tennessee was going to do well against you on the interior. Like you knew they were going to do well against you on the interior. Well, we're kind of revisiting that a little bit. They're not as dominant of an offensive line, any of these 3 teams, as Tennessee was, but they still run the ball effectively. And Buffalo they admittedly have struggled, in that department at times. Yeah, at times.
I believe that Frazier and McDermott, along with that, the Babbages and all those guys, all the the staff that they have over there, they've had experience with this, Paul. They've definitely had experience with, hey, we're not doing well against the run. What do we need to do?
Right.
Maybe just a straightforward approach of McDermott that he's had in his philosophy for years, where, hey, I'm going to rush 4, I'm going to drop 7. You guys take care of the run if you can. Just eat up bodies up front. A lot of twists, a lot of stunts, a lot of different looks that you get out of this defensive line now this year that I haven't seen as frequent as previous years. Could mix up the blocking schemes with a lot of these teams that you're going to have to face as far as the Saints and the Colts. Jonathan Taylor scares the piss out of me. He does, because I've seen him make chicken salad out of what. So
he's dangerous. He's a dangerous individual.
So, will Star be back? I hope so. If he's not back, it's obviously a blow to your run defense, but I think they have alternate plans in place to take care of that if that's not good. Like they will do a double A gap blitz with Milano and Edmonds, and they'll say, okay, listen, you guys got to cover behind this for a couple seconds. We're going to put the pressure on Wentz to beat us, not Taylor, because Taylor's been beating a lot of teams this year, not so much Wentz.
Right.
So that all being said, whatchamacallit?
Great transition, Mario. Dynamite drop in Monty.
Thanks,
Broadcasting school's really paid off.
If I ever went, it would have been nice. But yeah, like you got Kamara, it's putting in the chat. You got Kamara, you got Taylor. I'm concerned about that. But if they had really solid quarterback play behind it, I would be concerned about the run game.
Yeah,
I would. And I'm not worried about whoever the Saints decide to trot out there, and I'm not really worried about Wentz. even though it's going to be probably an emotional thing where Frank Reich comes back to Buffalo. He'll get a nice standing ovation in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, I think he did he didn't really in the playoff game because there wasn't a full capacity stadium.
Right.
But he will when they play them. But yeah, I did, Rick. Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, big brain fart. Big brain fart. While we're transitioning, make sure you guys hit that like button because that's what we're here for. So if you haven't hit that like button, of course, if you're watching this not on the live stream, leave a comment. Anything you want to talk about, we try to respond to as many of those comments as we can.
Absolutely.
So you think Harry was effective today? Enough? Okay.
Yeah, he was effective. Okay. 22 carries for 70 yards for 3.2 and a touchdown for the team.
Yeah.
But obviously, you're playing prevent since the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you got them out of run pretty quick, right?
Yeah,
like the whole goal of this defense is to get the quarterback in passing situations as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Mike Hyde confirmed that in the post-game press conference. Like, listen, that's our job. Our job is to get the quarterback passing as much as possible. That's
that's where the Buffalo Bills' strength lies. I mean, that's
absolutely
where they used to. I mean, the 2015 Carolina Panthers, I believe, they had the same philosophy. And it all stemmed from their defense, and they ended up going to the Super Bowl because of that defense. I mean, you saw Cam Newton, who made his return to Carolina, which was actually pretty interesting. That's what they did, though. In that 2015 season, that's what they were doing. They got leads on teams, and they let the defense in the secondary hunt, and that's what they did.
Right.
And when you had a Hall of Fame middle linebacker, you can do those things. You can make teams one-dimensional in that facet. So, yeah, it was definitely fun to watch today. But then obviously we always have to take that into consideration. They were playing the Jets. It was a very weak team.
Yeah.
New head coach trying to get his program started. You got a quarterback in there that wasn't your first draft pick. But it's if you wanted to, what did you think of the combination of Milano and Klein today?
So I was a little worried about it because the Jets basically have Corey Davis and a bunch of slot receivers, right? Like it's Corey Davis and then a bunch of little guys.
Yeah.
Not an ideal combination for Matt Milano and AJ Klein, right? Because AJ Klein typically, he's not bad in pass coverage. Like, let's just be honest. He's not bad in pass coverage, but against those shifty guys, it's a problem, right? You don't want him there. AJ Klein played really good today. It was impressive how good AJ Klein was. And I don't know if that's just because the Jets really lack the ability to get you moving east and west, right? From a linebacker perspective, it really is north and south. Like you don't have to play them very east and west, which is to Klein's strength at this point. I think the Colts are a little bit of a different animal. So if Tremaine is still banged up, that's going to be a bigger problem because that line likes to move a lot more. The Saints are the same way. Those lines like to move a lot. So I think that's a little bit of a different animal. So while AJ Klein was really effective today, I'm not seeing this projecting like up. I think this is as good as it gets. Good. Congratulations. This is as good as it gets. That's what you have.
No. Stop.
This is why you have backups.
Stop.
What?
No.
What?
I gotta call BS on you, Paul. I gotta call a minus on you.
All right.
Okay.
Minus. You're gonna drop a minus.
I gotta drop a minus on you.
Let me hear it.
The prophet, formerly known as Ski, once said,
"You're gonna quote me against me."
I'm gonna quote you against you. This is what I have to do because I have the time stone. I can go back and I can remember what you said. I seem to remember a post game in 2020 after a Seattle Seahawks game where AJ Klein played very well.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, and I quote, "This is as good as it gets." Paul. And we happen to see it again. You know what I mean? And you can't compare this Jets team to that Seahawks team because that Seahawks team was throwing the ball over the yard. And then you come into a game like this where they have back-to-back like 400-plus yard games. It's like
in my defense, Mario, broken clock is right twice a day too, right?
Very
so
true.
it's I think this was I was a little worried about the Jets really don't make the linebackers move too much. Like they have no tight ends to really speak of that are ever going to give you any trouble. If you look at the Saints, you're kind of in the same boat there. You look at the Colts, Mo Alley Cox occasionally shows up, and other than that, there's not much there either. So, like, I think there's some positives, but I don't think the long-term plan is to hope AJ Klein is a starter next week. Right?
No. I think if these guys needed a rest, or as we said, Star was on the COVID list, so
that's a who knows situation.
That
right?
is. I mean, you Rogers was on it, but he was back today. So
yeah,
who knows? He gets the test and comes back. So we'll have to try to monitor that throughout the week and see how that goes. But what a perfect game for Edmonds to take off.
Yeah, it worked out great.
Fine. Yeah, it was
worked
fine.
Out great.
And then you had what better guy to communicate across a Sean McDermott philosophy style defense than AJ Klein. Right. I thought Milano was going to have the headset.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
weird.
I thought Milano would just shift over, and then you'd see a little bit more Terrell Dodson and passing situations, a little more AJ Klein and run situations, and that is not what happened at all. Probably a good thing though that they knew Edmonds was going to be out early because there was that means Klein got the entire week practice to prep. And he's not an inexperienced player, like he's far from inexperienced. So they clearly trust him, and it's one of the reasons why he's still around. At the beginning of the season, I know a lot of members of the Mafia and Hashtag Nation were like, "We got to get rid of AJ Klein. Why is he still here? He's one dimensional. He doesn't do anything for your defense." I mean, this is why. Obviously, from a preparation standpoint, he was able to step in and take over, and that's why they're paying him. It's not ideal, but this is what you do with your bench, right? You got to make sure that you have people that can step up. Dane Jackson looked like dog water today. Looked awful.
I love that phrase, dog water.
Awful.
He looked like dog
awful.
water.
Broke my heart.
Oh my God, we're getting called out.
Dane Jackson so bad.
We're getting
called.
My heart. Listen, Paul. You know that life is all about balance. You can't have all of the chips in every single area of your life. The fact that Matt Breida scored twice today, your other man crush had to have a bad game.
That's probably true. That's fair.
Apex said, "Shame on you both. You guys did not watch Tailgate Talk." Then apparently, we're slacking. I was in there for a little bit.
A spin brings up Bills have a 145 point differential. Crap, the chat moved. There we go. 145 point differential. Next closest team is 98. Yeah, and again, to go back to it, when you're getting 18 plus turnovers and wins and you're blowing teams out by 25, 30 points, that's going to happen. But the rest of the schedule, you can't expect that. It's not going to happen the rest of the way. You're not going to blow out the Saints by 35. The Colts are going to be able to keep the game closer than what happened today.
Yeah.
You're not going to blow out the Patriots by 35 either. It's just those games are behind you now, and they're great. You put them up on the wall, but that's all. That's where they are now. They're on the wall. They're not in front of you anymore. They're behind you. You just got to keep going.
Yeah, the great part about today's game in the grand scheme of things is it was a divisional game. It was an AFC game, obviously. Mm-hmm. If it was a divisional, it's AFC. And you were able to get a little bit more continuity on the offensive side of the ball, which is what you wanted in this defense. And you guys have to think about this. A lot of guys are saying stuff in the chat with Spencer Brown and this defense. Oh, the defense played pretty well against, even without Star in the game, and this and that and the third. And I understand that. But you still have to realize that the Jets are not a very good football team, and the Bills did what they were supposed to do against a very bad football team. Now, if the Bills won this one 18-10 like they did last year, we would be having a very different conversation today. We would say, "Oh my God, Star needs to come back. What's wrong with Allen? I can't believe Dable." All this stuff. You haven't even mentioned Dable yet. But that's one of those things that you have to take into consideration is the quality of competition. They beat Houston by 40. I haven't mentioned Houston since we did the post game, Paul.
Nope.
It's on the wall. It's in the can. So is the Jacksonville game. So is the Pittsburgh game.
Exactly.
So is Tennessee game.
Exactly. They're all behind you now. They're all behind you now.
Throw them out. So looking forward, as you stated, because we got about 15 minutes left. And for those 100 people that are in here, thank you for coming in here. Hit the like button. We got some more information for you to bring throughout the last 15 minutes that we have. Colts, Saints, Pats, and Bucks. I know a lot of people are going to be they're going to be looking forward to that Bucks game, even though they got mollywopped by Washington today.
Sure did. Well, Brady had, I think, 2 picks in the first quarter alone. I think I saw he was like 1 for 4 with 2 picks in the first 2 tries.
Good for him. I'm just retired, dude. So the Patriots game December 6th, I think a lot of people are going to be jacked up for that. 8:15 p.m. So you know what happens, Paul, when we have those late night games against the Patriots, divisional games that are at home. I love reading the police blotter in the morning.
Oh
It's
yeah,
so much
that's a good
fun.
time. Yeah, that's a
So
good
the
time.
Colts, what's initially the thing that you want to say that the Colts scare you?
I mean,
Besides Jonathan Taylor, is there anything else that they do? Are you looking for? Because I'm looking forward to Oliver versus that refrigerator on their line. Who's that maniac?
Quentin
Quentin
Nelson.
Nelson. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I love that matchup.
yeah, they move their line an awful lot. Like they use a lot of direction with their offensive line. Their offensive line moves a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part of that's probably, to protect the run game a little bit. The other part of that is because it keeps the game a little bit slower for Wentz up front.
Yes.
That's the things you got to do sometimes with the quarterback. I think, Indianapolis thought they were buying an exotic sports car at a used car dealership when they got Carson Wentz. And the fact of the matter is, it was just a Ford Escort with a Lamborghini logo on it. So it's still a Ford Escort.
Not a Prius?
Hey, don't you knock that Prius. Just because you can't fit in it doesn't mean it's not a quality automobile.
Just because the only way you turn it is by sticking your hand out the window so the wind catches it.
It is kind of like sailing. That offensive line moves an awful lot. Right.
It does.
And that's the thing that gets you is that's going to require your linebacker play to be solid. And you need Teron Johnson to be healthy. Teron, I thought, played well today. You're going to be playing a lot of nickel against them. It's kind of what you do. But the linebackers have to be on their game because the defensive line is going to get washed out a lot in that Indianapolis game. It's going to be tough for them to generate pass rush because that line down blocks so much and they use misdirection an awful lot.
So that being said, Paul, I mean, Apex puts in the chat, Buckner versus Butker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that 3 times. Scares the hell out of me. DeForest Buckner versus Ike Butker.
Yeah.
That's definitely a matchup that scares me. But just talking about a team that has such a very solid run game, linemen who move well. Mm-hmm. Do you see the Bills coming out of nickel a little bit more, and we see another heavy dose of AJ Klein next week?
Too? I don't think so, Mark. Teron Johnson's so good against the run.
He is. He is.
I don't. If he was weaker against the run, I would tell you maybe, but he's so strong against the run. I don't know I don't know what his health is like because I know he's walking into this game a little banged up. Yeah. So I don't know what today did. He didn't play all that much, right, compared to his usual snap count. So, I mean. I do look at it this way. I don't think you're losing anything by having AJ Klein in there over Teron Johnson because again, the tight end play is just not great from the Colts. So I don't think that's going to make too much.
Watch him catch 2 next week. Good job, Paul. Watch him catch 2.
I'll put myself on there. That's fine.
What about your boy Jack Doyle?
Get out of here with Jack Doyle.
Does he even still play for them anymore? I don't even know.
I don't think so.
You hate that's your most hated fantasy player of all time.
Jack Doyle, 100%. 100%. I hated having him on my team because it's just like he would catch 2 passes, both of them for touchdowns. And it's just every week was just like it was like a heart attack every week because you're looking at the stat line and you're like, man, he hasn't caught a pass yet. It's the 4th quarter. And like bing, bang. He's like, oh, he scored 14 points. Look at that. 2 receptions, 4 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great job, Jack. Great job. Proud of you.
I absolutely love that. That is pretty hysterical.
Well, so what's the difference for you between the Colts and the Saints, right? What's the difference? More mobile quarterback in all likelihood, right? I assume we're going to see Taysom Hill. Maybe. I mean, maybe we see Taysom Hill. What's the difference to you there between the Colts?
I just don't want to see Jerry Hughes chasing what was his name again?
Down the side. Stills?
Kenny Stills. Yeah. He's still chasing Kenny Stills.
He's still running after Kenny Stills. Even when they're on the same team, they're still chasing.
Yeah, he was still trying to. Obviously, you have a more seasoned head coach in there that calls his own plays. And what they're able to do. Kamara definitely brings a different dimension to the running back position as Taylor. Taylor's more, he can run inside the tackles. I'm not to say that Kamara can't, but Kamara's more of that dual threat guy, like a CMC. So What do you do for that? I mean, Taylor, you could put either Edmonds or Milano on Taylor. It's not
All day.
advisable,
Yeah,
but you could.
Right,
You could. Kamara, I think you lose a step, but with both Edmonds and Milano, if you decide to put those guys on Kamara. And I think perhaps you may want to delegate Johnson to Kamara if he comes out of the backfield or he lines up outside. That's a guy that you don't want to put just put a linebacker on him straight up and be like, okay, he's got him. No, you don't.
Right.
So even though Taylor may be faster than Kamara,
I think Taylor is faster. He's definitely, I think he might be faster than Kamara.
but he's more of a bull inside the tackles. I think that's why.
I think the dynamic is a little different. Kamara without Mark Ingram is a lot different than Kamara with Mark Ingram, right? Because now Kamara's not playing 85% of the snaps anymore. So Kamara's a dangerous animal when he's not the bell cow. I know that sounds silly and stupid, because he's a franchise level runner. You're paying him like a franchise level player, but him with Ingram is those fewer snaps matter, right? They really matter to Kamara. He just doesn't have.
Yeah, the difference in that, obviously, from the Bills being at home versus the Colts and Bills being away on Thursday against the Saints. Obviously, I think the Saints game will be a little bit tougher. But do you know who I predict? This is early. This is very early. This is a week, and so, more than a week. Do you know, Paul, who I think is going to have an excellent game against the Saints, and people are going to be talking about him for weeks after that?
Offense or defense?
Defense.
Jerry Hughes.
No, close.
Okay. Mario Addison.
Trey White.
How is it Jerry Hughes done with Trey White close?
Well, they've both been on the team a while.
All right.
Sure. I think Trey White is going to have a great, because if you look at the history, anytime Trey White is not necessarily matched up against a great player, but if he's matched up against a defensive player that's comparable to him, who the Saints got again? Lattimore, same draft. I think he's going to want to try to prove a point that game. I think there's going to be a point that he wants to play. He wants to prove. And where did he play, Paul? LSU. Where are they playing?
Yeah.
So I think he's going to have a great homecoming down there when they go to play the Saints. And I see Trey White and maybe even coming out with 2 picks in that game to try to prove that he is the guy who has a chip on his shoulder from being the 4th corner taken in that draft. So I'm going to be steadfast with my boy here.
We got that from Trey. Actually, Trey's mom gave that to us. Trey White's mom gave that to us. She was handing him out. Lovely woman.
I loved it.
Yeah, they were so sweet. They were so sweet.
But yes, I think the Saints game will be a tougher test for the Buffalo Bills because you have that quick turnaround after playing. You're gonna go you go to an AFC game. You're possibly gonna go 7-3. Yep. We all know you can lose the NFC games. That's fine. Obviously, depending on how the Pats play, it could affect it a little bit. But if you're going to lose a game, you want to lose the NFC game. And then they have 10 days to prepare for the Pats.
That's it.
I hope they don't overlook the Saints going to the Pats.
I don't think you can. No. I don't think you can.
And it's a night game, so they get even more time. It's not like it's a 1:00 game on a Sunday. They're going
right.
They're going to have 10 days and a little bit else. So, what a wacky year, though, Paul. What a wacky year for teams to lose. Like the Ravens lost to the Dolphins.
I know. Thank God the Ravens lost to the Dolphins, man. It made the Bills losing to the Jags feel so much better. It just did. It just did. I was like, oh God, it's not us. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, we're not alone. We're not alone.
We got a question. I'll try to see if I can find it on here for the defensive. Did he make the stat sheet?
Oh, Vernon Butler?
Yeah, I don't think he did.
I saw Vernon Butler played actually a little bit more than I was.
Oh, 1 tackle. Today. He had 1 tackle.
Okay. All right then. Yeah. So he fell on somebody.
Poyer with 10 tackles, Milano with 9, Klein with 7. I thought Klein had way more than that.
Yeah, Klein was around. Klein played great. Like you couldn't ask for a better performance from him. Just not possible.
It doesn't get any better than this, folks. But if this is his best game,
that's okay.
Kudos to the Bills.
That's when you need it. That's when you needed it. When Edmonds isn't there, Klein had to have his best game. That's why he's on the team, and he did. Good for him. That's right. That's why he's there.
So a guy that we didn't talk about, at great lengths, but had a heck of a game. threw for a very quiet 366. Josh
Yep.
Allen, 21 for 28, efficient, trying to push the ball down the field. Do you think that this changes anything for Allen as we go into the last 5 minutes of the show? Do you think this changes anything for Allen moving forward?
I don't know about that. I
Like
think
his preparation before Jacksonville and his preparation before New York. Obviously, we know it was different.
Yeah. I look at it this way, right? Josh Allen doesn't ever want to lose. I think he takes everything real serious, and he's a gamer. Whether they lost in Jacksonville or whether they won in Jacksonville, the only thing that does is it impacts, your perspective on how you prepare, and that's okay. I don't think there's any difference with him. We've seen what happens when Josh presses, right?
Yeah.
And today, the Bills were able to get out of that real quick. I love the first drive. I thought their first drive was efficient. I thought it was great. I thought it was drawn up well. And the Bills have had trouble in the first half. They've had trouble in the first half the last couple games. So it was great to see them get that all under control. I was a little worried when Josh threw the first pass to Diggs out of bounds, right? That first pass down the sideline, pass went out of bounds. I was a little worried, but that was no big deal. Right. You just moved right past. It was just another play on the stat sheet. And it was a target he didn't catch, and it wasn't going to catch it. And it was all systems go from there. So no, I don't think that mattered at all, and I don't think them dropping, a near 50 burger on the Jets is going to impact his preparation for the Colts. You don't think that, do you?
No. I had a couple questions in that. And as we welcome Sean comes into the, sorry, I'm late. What did I miss? P.S. Go Buffalo. Don't you think I forgot about that, huh, Sean? Two things. One, if they rolled over Jacksonville, I don't know if today's result is what it is. Okay. I think they still beat the Jets. I just don't think it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I wanted to say was, or you could phrase it as they needed that Jacksonville game. Mm-hmm. And by need, I mean this.
Right.
They know what the lowest of the low is now.
Yeah.
And you never want to return. I heard somebody
great band, by the way, the lowest of the low. Great band. Just throwing that out there.
I heard somebody say a phrase, and I apologize ahead of time for any of the females that are in the audience or listening to this later. Paul, don't shake your head. It's not bad. He says, I think you need to date a 3 to appreciate a 7.
Okay. Okay.
So I think by losing to Jacksonville, it said, okay, we never want to go visit that address again.
Yeah.
We are going to move forward, and we're going to have to prepare, or else if we do the same things that we did, as far as the preparation for the Jacksonville week, we won't beat a college team. So here's what we did. So I think that's what I was trying to get at was with Allen was I think that resonates with him. I think he still thinks of that Jacksonville game. I think every throw he had today, he was thinking of Jacksonville. He was thinking of the embarrassment he had to live with for a week of a team that they should have killed, that they lost to, and he never wants to return there again.
Right.
And that may, like you said, it might just be part of his genetic makeup and how the kid is. Mm-hmm. But by having that as an example, I think makes him a stronger quarterback.
So I just to kind of mention that before we get to the roast session, if you guys want to start putting everything for the final 2 minutes of the show, please start putting your roasts in the chat. There's obviously a small delay in YouTube. So I'm going to close your thought there with this, right? Aaron Rodgers was coming back from COVID, right? And he was pissed that he's even on the COVID protocol as it was. The league had denied his vaccination status. There's a whole thing on Pat McAfee's show. If you didn't watch it, it's about an hour long, but it is actually really informative of how, his perspective on this whole thing. And the truth of the matter is, I will take an angry Aaron Rodgers every time, right? When Aaron Rodgers is angry, he is dangerous, right? Dangerous. I will take an angry Josh Allen every time because he is a dangerous weapon. And I put the two on par. But we got to get to the roast session, my man.
We do have to get to the roast session. So if you're a first-time listener to Hashtag Sports, thank you for joining us, obviously. At the end of every Buffalo Bills win, we have a 2-minute roast session. But due to the wildly open score that we have, we're going to extend it to 3 tonight for all of you. So the timer, let me put my let me cancel that.
Yep. Hey, Paul Burke says an angry Rodgers won MVP, 100%.
He always does.
100%.
So basically, the roast session is this. You can only have 3 comments about my hat. This is actually the Buffalo Bills victory hat that I wear every time. Started last year, and everyone told me I still had to wear it, so I'm going to wear it. You get to roast Paul and I for any of our takes today and or anything that you want. So I will start the clock. 3 minutes going now, and we got to read them off. Should be fun. AJ Klein equals MVP. Is that your roast? No, I'm just kidding.
Shivas says no way. Angry Josh Allen overthrows every ball. Just as long as he's not throwing him into medical tents, it's probably fine. Right?
Oh my God. I still love your comment of who threw that ball that hit Jamal Adams in the face. And you said if Allen threw it, Jamal Adams might be dead.
Yeah. I don't even remember who it was. It was just a couple weeks ago, too. I've never a goldfish, man. I don't know.
Jim Tripp is coming at you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Paul, is that your Halloween costume? Or I can't say that. Who is that?
Ilya Kurikan?
Is that how you pronounce that? Who is that?
From The Man from U.N.C.L.E.? I have no idea.
Oh, you got me.
No
idea. No idea. Paul Berg, formidable, holding, sack. Clearly, he's talking about Deion Dawkins. Yeah. All right, then.
I can't wait to send you the bobblehead, Paul, about the it will take me longer than 3 minutes to roast Paul's takes. Oh, damn.
You have your own show, Mike. You have your own show, Apex. Tune in on Friday while Mike has a laundry list of things that he thinks I'm wrong about. And go through them one by one. That's fine.
1960s reference. Ooh.
Oh, from the 60s, Jim? Oh, brother, I know about you. I wasn't around for that.
No, Jim, we also have to highlight the fact that if it's 20 sports-wise, if it's more than 20 years ago, Paul thinks it's irrelevant. So
totally. Yeah, 100% irrelevant.
Even though I keep telling him about Miracle, and you guys know
irrelevant.
Miracle the High. It's not irrelevant. I keep telling you, if Miracle never happened, your kids would be named Vladimir and Victor. I keep telling you this. You never listen to me. We need 57 minutes of roast 3-minute show. It would be improvement. Steve Rose.
Ouch. Yeah. Hoffman says Mario's pushing for a Wendy's sponsorship.
I got you. Here it is.
That's a good look for you.
It is. I should wear this around more often. Look like a cone head. That's fine.
Yeah. What does your shirt? What does your T-shirt say?
I'm about to do something awesome.
Okay.
You know how I am with the shirts, Paul. You know how
I do.
I actually the Bobby Boucher. Nothing will top the Bobby Boucher jersey.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good
Paul
one.
failed to pay the electric bill. No, he just
I just have the victory purple light. That's it. Mario has his hat. I go victory purple, and then
Paul's always setting the mood because that was a sexy victory today.
That's it. Clearly.
Got a mom tattoo on your neck? What?
Yeah. Oh, that's the Wendy's logo. Don't you know? It's not really mom, but it looks like the word mom. It's not. It's just the design, but it absolutely looks like the word.
T-Dub's coming in with some Pippi Longstocking. I love it.
That's true. That's
you love when I take the heat off of you, doesn't it, Paul?
I can't complain. Oh, heard the ding. All right, that's 3.
That's 3 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, thank you for joining us for the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets postgame. In the description of this video, you will see the brochure for our sponsor, Mr. Rogers Homes. Sean Rogers, top 1% realtor in all of Arizona. If you're thinking of getting some real estate in the Valley of the Sun, Sean is your guy. Tell him Paul and Mario sent you. You guys can find all of our stuff on our socials, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also find us on iTunes and Spotify. Buffalo Bills with a 45-17 victory over the New York Jets, going 3-0 in the division, 6-3 overall as they head to I almost said Baltimore as they play at home versus Indianapolis next week. We have obviously our shows. We have our Razor Sharp picks this week, Morning Coffee with Paul, and next Friday we have our Tailgate Talk with Tommy and Mike. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.